Hello there, McKnox here. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very simple little project, these cat ears. You can use whatever yarn you'd like. As you can see, I used a softer yarn for these ones and a frayed silky yarn for these ones. But for today, we're going to use a soft yarn to make these. So let's get started. And don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share the video. So for today, you're going to need a hook. I'm using a 3.5mm hook, but you can use a different size. You just may have smaller or larger ears than mine. A pair of scissors, of course. A tapestry needle. For yarn, I'm using this premium Just Chenille. I actually picked this up from the Dollar Tree. It's a very soft yarn, but when cutting it, pieces of it sort of just poof, making it a bit messy to work with. And if you're not careful when you're sewing, the yarn can actually break. But for this project, it's pretty perfect. So you're going to need a color for your outer ear and pink for your inner ear. I'll be using these barrettes. I got these at Walmart for just a few bucks. The package came with 40 of them. A pair of bells I had actually gotten around Christmas time, also from the Dollar Tree. And some little bows, which I found at my local craft store. Surprisingly, I found these in the paper craft section. And that's it, let's get started. So the great news about making these ears is you actually make the outer and inner ear the same way. Start off with a long tail for sewing, attach your yarn, and chain 8. Skip that first chain and single crochet into the next 7 chains. When you get to the last chain, do not mistake this knot for your stitch. Just tighten it a little bit. Now chain 1 and turn your project. And now we're decreasing from 7 to 5. And what you're going to do is you're actually going to skip this first stitch. You're not making a standard decrease. Go into that next stitch and make a single crochet. Then a single crochet into the next 3 stitches. Skip the next stitch and single crochet into that last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Now you're just going to put a single crochet into every stitch across. So 5 single crochet. At the end, chain 1 and turn again. Decreasing from 5 to 3, you're going to skip that first stitch and single crochet into the next stitch. Single crochet into the next one. Skip this stitch right here and single crochet into the last stitch. Chain 1 and turn. Single crochet into those 3 stitches. Chain 1 and turn your project. Now you're decreasing from 3 to 2. Single crochet into that first stitch. Skip that middle stitch and single crochet into the third one. Chain 1 and turn again. To decrease from 2 to 1, we're going to go into that first stitch, pull a loop through, go into the next, grab the yarn, pull the loop through, yarn over, and pull through all loops. Chain 1 and cut your yarn. Now, there are one or two things that you can do with this tail. When you crochet the two sides together later, you can just tuck it out of the way. But I'm actually going to take my needle and attach my yarn. Weave my yarn through the next stitch. Don't go backwards. And gently tug it through. I'm just going to push my needle partly through a stitch here. Go through that loop I just made. Pull it tight and cut it. This will be the inside of my ear. For the inner ear, I'm actually going to attach this other strand to my needle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to weave it in and out of these stitches to the center of my ear. Later on, this is where I will be attaching my bell and my bow, but for now, leave your tail where it is. Okay, so you're going to make the outer ear just like you did the inner ear. It's the exact same steps. I'll put the instructions on the screen again here, but I'll not be going over the steps again. When you finish the outer ear, fasten off and tuck away those yarn tails. However, you don't need to move the starting strand to the middle of your ear like we did with the inner part. Just hide it away somewhere. So, now I have both parts of my ear finished. These are the inner sides, this is the outer. Now, I'm just going to insert my hook through the corner of both of those sides. Take my white yarn and attach it to my hook. Pull that yarn through both of those stitches and chain one to secure it. Hold your ears together to make sure they're lined up. Yarn over and go through those first stitches and make a double crochet. Go into the next stitch and make another double crochet. Third one, a double crochet. Fourth, double crochet. Fifth stitch, double crochet. And a double crochet into that sixth stitch. This should be the last stitch before you reach the tip of your ear. Now, making sure you're going through both points of your ears, make a double crochet. Chain one, and go into that same stitch and make another double crochet. Now, you're just going to double crochet down the other side of your ear. So put double crochet in every stitch to the end. Make sure that you're going through the last 2 points on the edge of your ear. Alright, there's your ear. Cut your yarn and leave a long tail for sewing. Alright, let's add the bell and bow. So, I've attached my pink yarn to my needle here. I'm going to grab my bell and weave my yarn through that bell loop. Poke my needle into a stitch just above where I came out, and I'm just going to go through my bell 2 or 3 times. This last time, I'm actually going to come up 1 stitch above it. Grab my bow and push my needle through the back of that bow. The problem with the bows that I got, it's a little tricky to push through that bow. I'd probably suggest using different ones that I did, depending on your yarn. Now, I'm going to check where my bow is positioned and push my needle back down into my ear. Give it a little tug. Now I'm just going to weave my yarn into the back side of my ear. Pull it through, make a loop, and pull it through my loop. Cut it short and tuck into my ear. Just repeat those steps and make your second ear. Alright, I have both of my ears. Now, when you attach them to your barrettes, keep in mind how people put them in their hair. Make sure when you attach your ears that they're sewn onto opposite ends of the barrettes so that when you put them in your hair, they're facing outwards. Alright, let's sew them on. And to start, I'm going to attach one end of my yarn to my needle. And I'm going to push it into this hole in my barrette. Pull my barrette down to my ear. Close your barrette so that your yarn doesn't get caught on it. And I'm going to come up into the corner of my ear. And then come back down and around and go back into that hole. And just do this a few times, making sure my yarn is tight. Make sure you're going through both sides of that ear. Now that that's done, I'm going to flatten my ear and I'm going to use this tail to sew both sides of my ear together. And I'm just going to weave my yarn to the other corner of my ear. Okay, so now we're going to attach our ear to the other side of the barrette. And you just do the same thing as you did with the first side. Down into that hole, up through the ear, and back down into the barrette's hole. After you've secured that, bring your tail up into your ear. Just make sure you're not going through both sides of your ear. Since I'm using a fluffier yarn, I'm just going to weave it in and out of the ears in the back to secure my yarn and then hide it. And then snip my tail close to my work. And do that with the other tail. And there we are. There's our 2 ears finished. A very simple but cute project. You can mix them up. You can use whatever colors or yarn you want. Make them smaller, larger, change the color on the tips of the ears. Have fun with it. If you want to see more, hit like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you soon.